People in the Bitcoin space are used to this. This is nothing out of the ordinary, but it's not the best timing, I would say.
Yeah. Markets seem to be functioning normally, and exchanges seem to be functioning with all due sort of speed.
Yeah, not any big reports of any. This doesn't seem to have that degree of sort of functional problems here. It's
so
just,
in one of the earlier reports, so here El Salvador says, well, okay, we'll go first. Who's next?
We'll have to see, right? I mean, I think this is why this experiment matters. If it's successful, and there's all sorts of metrics that we should, I think, apply to what that means, not just whether the price of Bitcoin goes up, but obviously that is going to be a factor. That will then, I think, lead others to look at it, right? There's a really strong case to be made for this as an effective, admittedly very bold effort to enforce self-determination, monetary sovereignty, however you want to call it. And if it succeeds, certainly at that governmental level, then one could imagine that Paraguay, where there have been some senators there talk about it, we've even seen Mexican legislators and some in Brazil and Argentina and elsewhere, all indicating that they thought this was an interesting strategy. I do think that, yeah, you may well see copycat moves, but they're going to wait and see. I mean, we'll have to see how this plays out over the course of the rest of the year.
So I know Kelly wants to jump in, but I'm going to squeeze in one more.
Sure.
In layman's terms, what is the advantage for the government of El Salvador to do this? And what is the presumptive advantage for the citizenry of El Salvador?
Yeah, look, and I think this is a bold move that could, if it was done properly, work out very well for both those sides. I am a little concerned about the way it's being rolled out, to be honest. But ultimately, yes, this is an act of self-determination. I mean, you do not have monetary independence in El Salvador regardless, right? The dollar is not their currency. And any effort to introduce an independent currency is probably going to fail given the sort of institutional problems they've historically had, which then creates all sorts of problems with the debt cycle. This is a classic problem for developing countries. So the idea of being able to sort of essentially attach yourself to a stronger currency and one that has, on top of the fact that it's stronger, all of this innovative capacity to it, the programmability of digital currency is very powerful here. Feeding that into a growth strategy at the local level could be very, very powerful. And that's, to answer the second part of your question, Tyler, where I see there could be, again, if it was properly implemented, a real benefit for locals to be a fillip for fintech innovation, for financial inclusion, but also a lot of other technologies that can sort of be brought in on top of this. So a lot of potential. It really depends on how it's implemented.
Also some geopolitical implications possibly, Michael, because El Salvador is a country that, tried its dollarization, got very frustrated with it, has actually turned to China for some investment and looking for kind of maybe a little bit of a, okay, hey, if the dollar isn't working for us, maybe China will, and actually had some kind of been left feeling like they didn't really get as much as they were hoping from the Chinese either. So ironically, Bitcoin, look at what's happening on Twitter and in the community today, where you have so many people sort of practicing sending money back and forth, using the Lightning Network, curious about how this came about. Looking, it could be more of an integration product with the West instead of one that leaves them feeling alienated and preyed upon.
Speaking my language there, Kelly, absolutely. I mean, I think obviously, in Washington, people are not ignorant to this. They do know that there are geopolitical aspects to this, that in fact, yes, if you do not act in the right way, these presumably previously supportive governments may well end up, with China, and that may or may not be a good thing, but ultimately that's a challenge from a geopolitical perspective. I personally think that this could be an opportunity. I think that rather than seeing this as the IMF, the World Bank, and others traditionally talk about, oh, yes, it's a money laundering threat. And we hear this language all the time, right? I think the real issue is, could you get in on the ground and help El Salvador develop this in a way that is not only equitable, but that helps to burnish the development of other technologies. I'm particularly interested in the idea of the interplay between renewable energy, for example, and Bitcoin. Contrary to the constant concerns about usage, there's a real good play in thinking of Bitcoin as a way to underwrite the development of renewables, but you have to do it at the local level to make sure that there is actually infrastructure being developed and spread and used widely. My concern with El Salvador is the degree to which there is a centralization in the hands of the government, with a government-run wallet, right, that has its own national ID system embedded in it. There are real concerns with the way it is. The US could have gone in there and helped to make this something that was really positive in terms of SDGs and a whole lot of other objectives that the world shares.